Blizzard just announced the release date for Classic WoW Season of Mastery, the new iteration of the popular classic World of Warcraft, which launched 2 years ago, and it's happening on November 16th at 3 PM Pacific or 11 PM European time, with name reservations happening a week before that on November 11th. Blizzard's vision for Season of Mastery is simple. They want to offer a faster cadence with having this season last 12 months with only a couple months between the patches, while offering a more challenging content through harder raiding. We had the chance to test Season of Mastery's beta for the last few weeks, and at first it started very bare bones, barely different from the original Classic WoW. But over time, Blizzard added a whole lot of new changes to it and changed a bunch of stuff which made the game actually feel like a complete new product. So today we're gonna look at some of the most important of these changes, and that way you can see for yourself whether this is worth playing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, let's start with where it all begins, leveling. That's what you guys are all gonna have to go through at first, and leveling is probably one of the most changed areas of Season of Mastery. So first off, obviously Season of Mastery has had its leveling speed increased, specifically quest turn-ins by 40%, and also dungeon quests and elite quests will also give you more XP. I actually tried the new leveling change on the beta and got to level 40. This is definitely noticeable, and it definitely makes leveling feel way faster than it used to be in Classic WoW. I guess the only issue though is that the amount of gold you get stays the same while leveling itself is faster, which means that getting to 40 with enough gold to buy your mount is gonna be considerably more difficult. Indeed, when I got to level 40 on the beta, I had just around 60 gold. As a reminder, you need 100 to buy your riding skill and mount, and I was definitely applying all the leveling etiquettes to save as much gold as possible. However, there wasn't that many players, meaning the auction house was a bit dead, so I assume this is not gonna be as big of an issue on the actual live servers at launch. That being said, leveling felt awesome despite that. What this buff did is basically removed the need for grinding on mobs while leveling. So leveling still felt like you're going through a journey, and you still had to think about what you're doing to not die. Basically, the vibe of classic leveling was still there, but they simply made it feel faster. To stay on the topic of leveling, one big selling point for this season of Classic WoW is the support for hardcore leveling. If you don't know what hardcore leveling is, it's basically a community-made thing where your goal is to reach max level without dying at all. In other words, it's an Iron Man mode if you ever played OSRS. Well, now Blizzard officially supports that with the Soul of Iron mechanic. In Season of Mastery, you can go to either Ironforge or Undercity, and you'll find a high elf NPC there. If you talk to him or her, you'll be able to enable Soul of Iron. What this does is it gives you this buff for the rest of your journey up to level 60, and whenever you die, it's gonna be obvious as you'll receive a debuff called Tarnished Soul, which also decreases your stats the more you die. Don't worry though, you'll be able to remove this debuff if you choose to continue playing on your character if you want. But obviously, you will not have the Soul of Iron buff anymore. Hardcore also has a lot of rules which are not yet officially supported by the game, like the fact that you're not allowed to trade or group up with anyone or use the auction house or the mailing system. But who knows, maybe Blizzard will have a way to track that too eventually so that no one is able to cheat. But if you want to do hardcore yourself, which by the way isn't gonna stop at level 60, a lot of players are gonna do hardcore Molten Core and Onyxia. But if you want to join in on the fun, there will be a link in the description to do so. Another big change that happened on Season of Mastery is the complete removal of any forms of boosting. Blizzard actually went out of their way to make sure that this will not happen by making, for example, Maraudon mobs immune to snares and slows and roots 30 seconds after entering combat. Strathol mobs also gain an immunity to snare 30 seconds after combat. And most importantly, mobs give significantly less experience now when a high-level character is grouped with a low-level one. These changes will also help combat bots. For example, in BRD, one of the most botted places in there, which was the mobs around the arena, has been changed. The moment you start pickpocketing one of them, you'll receive a debuff preventing you from doing it on the rest of them, pretty much killing one of the most lucrative spots for bots in Classic. But yeah, with all these changes, not only will boosting not be possible anymore, botting way more difficult, but the economy inflation will be happening at a way slower pace. Because Stratholme, Maridon, BRD, Zul'Farrak and whatnot, those dungeons were the biggest injectors of gold into the economy in Classic. That's why, for example, an Elixir of the Mongoose only cost a handful of silver at the start of Classic, and it went up to several golds by the end of the game. So this should help keep the value of gold intact, at least for a longer time. Alright, next up, one big change brought to Season of Mastery is the PvP honor system being faster now. So we all know how difficult ranking up is in Classic. It took people weeks of playing non-stop to reach rank 14, and only the most dedicated of players managed to do it. Well, Blizzard is making it easier to rank up in Season of Mastery. So their blue post about this is super technical, and I'm not gonna bore you with it. If you want to read it for yourself, you can pause the video here. But super basically, this should make ranking up significantly easier. How much easier exactly, we're not too sure, but you definitely will not have to play 15 to 20 hours a day every day non-stop to reach rank 14 anymore. So if you always wanted to reach that coveted rank, Season of Mastery is your time to do so. Before we move on to talking about raids and all the changes there's also a bunch of small things that have been brought to Season of Mastery, like meeting stones being turned into summoning stones, the looking for group tool from TBC being brought to Season of Mastery, although I highly doubt that will be used seeing how forgotten of a feature it is in TBC. Mining and herbing nodes increased in numbers, the debuff cap removed, and world buffs also removed from raids, but more on those in a second. But all those small quality of life changes should make everyone's time with Season of Mastery feel a bit more enjoyable. And obviously, those are what we have right now on the beta. Things could change at any moment between now and release, or even during Season of Mastery itself. Okay, let's now move on to the crux of the matter, raiding. Raiding has been made significantly harder in Season of Mastery. Blizzard not only doubled every boss's and mob's health, but they also brought a bunch more mechanics to each one of them. But more on that in a second. First, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room, the removal of world buffs. World buffs have been very infamous in Classic WoW for locking players out of their characters for days and also making raiding feel more easier than it already was in the first place. People were stacking full world buffs on every raid and clearing Naxxramas, for example, in under an hour, which is nuts considering how hard Naxx was originally. People never even thought that this raid would be speedrun one day. But yeah, Blizzard is pulling the plugs on world buffs. You can still get them if you want, but the moment you enter a raid, they're gone. Hell, if you wanted to, you could even go buy that Chronoboon Displacer that was added in Phase 6 of Classic, grab all the world buffs, save them, and pop them when you enter a dungeon or something if you want to have fun. But as far as raiding is concerned, it's a no-go. That single-handedly makes raiding significantly harder. No more warriors and rogues stacking. Now everyone, for the most part, has a chance to shine. That's especially true with the removal of the debuff limit. So, truth be told, this is such a minor change when it comes to the numbers that it's probably not gonna be felt that much during raids. But this does mean that a lot of specs that were never played before will be on the table now. Boomkins and Shadow Priests are still gonna be at the bottom of the meter though, so probably not brought unfortunately. Anyways, let's now move on to the raids themselves. Okay, at first on the beta, the raids were mostly the same, with bosses and trash just having double HP. But then, Blizzard looked at how easy it was still being cleared and just went completely nuts with it. There's a plethora of changes brought to pretty much every boss in Season of Mastery. Let's start with the most insane of them, Onyxia. We tried Onyxia on the beta and we just couldn't get her past 50%. Phase 1 is basically the same as Classic, but once she flies off, first she summons 2 Wardens, the same ones you fight on your way to the boss. So they do a bunch of AoE fire damage and hit like a truck. Melees cannot stack on them, so it's basically the range's responsibility to kill them. Meanwhile, Onyxia is still up in the air, spitting fireballs at everyone, which by the way, now disorient once they hit you, and also, you know that deep breath she does, which is supposed to go from one side of the room to the other. Well, when we tried it, that ability was completely bonkers. It was sort of like a cone, and it actually didn't go from where she was standing to the opposite side, but from a random side of the room. That last part was probably a bug, but you can see how insane Onyxia is just with these changes. items. God knows what else she does once she lands. Anyways, moving on to Molten Core, not gonna lie, we were only able to kill one boss, Lucifron, and we wiped continuously on Magmadar and Gehennas. So Lucifron now has 4 adds instead of 2, which means double the amount of mind controls. And I'm pretty sure the debuff he does was also happening faster, but overall, Lucifron was not that hard as long as you can manage to tank and kill all 4 adds. The first roadblock for most people will be at Magmadar. So Magmadar summons 2 dogs during the fight, quite similar to Golemack, and those 2 dogs then turn into 4 dogs somehow. Not sure how that happens. Also, the boss spits fireballs on a random person, which stuns you now. Add to that the fact that he has double HP, 4 mobs being tanked that need to die, and a bunch of damage growing all throughout the fight, and this boss is gonna be completely day and night compared to Classic. Then we got to Gehennas. Unfortunately, we didn't try him really, as we tried to pull a trash close to him, but that somehow changed into the boss. But if he's anything like Lucifron, this boss should be quite easy. It's just 4 adds that need to die compared to 2. But yeah, other than that, we couldn't test the rest of the raid. God knows what the rest of the bosses have in store for us. But yeah, that's everything there is to know about Season of Mastery. A whole lot of changes and a bunch of new additions. I think Blizzard totally nailed what they were going for here, which is more challenging content and faster cadence of gameplay. Let me guys know what you think of this in the comments. Will you give it a shot? Do you plan on getting to 60, maybe trying hardcore leveling, or do you plan on doing all the content including raiding? With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the Classic WoW Curios channel for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye for now.